guys, welcome back, and today we are going to be reading Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. And we are going to be reading Chapter 2, Aunt Marge's Big Mistake. And let's get to reading. So we already read this, and if you want to go see that, go watch vlog on that. Okay. Going to take out my thing. I was in the wrong place. Okay, let's get reading. Harry went down to breakfast the next morning to find the three Dursleys already sitting around the table. They were watching a brand new television, a welcome home for the summer present for Dudley, who had been complaining loudly about the long walk between the fridge and the television in the living room. Dudley had spent most of the summer in the kitchen, his piggy little eyes fixed on the screen and his 5 chins wobbling as he ate continually. Harry sat down between Dudley and Uncle Vernon, a large beefy man with very little neck and a lot of muscle. Far from wishing Harry a happy birthday, none of the Dursleys made any sign that they noticed Harry enter the room. But Harry was far too used to this care. Harry helped himself to a piece of toast and then looked up at the reporter on the television. Halfway through a report on an escaped convict, the public is warned that Black is armed and extremely dangerous. A special hotline has been set up, and any sighting of Black should be reported immediately. No need to tell us he's no good, muttered Uncle Vernon, staring over the top of his paper at the prisoner. Look at the state of his filthy layabout. Look at his hair. He's got a nasty look at sideways. Untidy hair had always been a source of great annoyance to Uncle Vernon. Compared to the man on the television, however, whose joint face was surrounded by matted elbow-length. Harry felt very well groomed indeed. The reporter had reappeared. The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries will announce that. Hang on, barked Uncle Vernon, staring fiercely at the reporter. You didn't tell us where the maniac escaped from. What use is that? Lunatic could be coming up the street right now. Aunt Petunia, who was bony, horse-faced, whipped around and peered intently out of the kitchen window. Harry knew Petunia would simply love to be called the hotline number. She was the noisiest woman in the world and spent most of her life spying on the boring, law-abiding neighbors. When will they learn? Said Uncle Vernon with his large purple fist. That's hanging the only way to deal with this. Very true, said Aunt Petunia, who was still squinting to next door's run. Uncle Vernon drained his teacup, glanced at his watch, and I'll better be off. Aunt Petunia, Marge's trinkets, and Harry, whose thoughts had been upstairs with the broomstick servicing it, was brought back to earth with an unpleasant bump. Aunt Marge, he blurted out, she's not coming here. Aunt Marge was Uncle Vernon's sister, so she was not a blood relative of Harry. Mother had been Petunia's sister. He had been forced to call her aunt all of his life. Aunt Marge lived in the country in a house with a large garden with red bulldogs. She didn't often stay at Pivot Drive because she couldn't bear to leave her precious dogs. But some of her visits stood out horribly bitterly in Harry's mind. At Dudley's 5th birthday party, Aunt Marge had whacked Harry around the shins with her walking stick to stop him from beating Harry at musical statues. A few years later, she turned up at Christmas with a computerized robot for Dudley, a box of dog biscuits. On her last visit, year before Harry started at Hogwarts, Harry had accidentally trodden on the tail of her favorite dog, Ripper, who had chased Harry out into past the tree. Aunt Marge had refused to call him off and past midnight. The memory of this incident brought tears of laughter to Dudley's eyes. Marge will be here for a week. While we're on the subject, that finger steadily at Harry. Need to get a few things straight before I go and collect her. Dudley smirked and saw his gaze from the watching Harry being bullied by Uncle Vernon was his favorite form of. Firstly, he growled, "You'll keep a silver tug in your head when you're Marge." "All right," said Harry bitterly. "If she does when talking." Secondly, acting and not heard Harry's reply. As Marge doesn't know about your abnormal funny stuff while she's here. Behave yourself, you got me? "I will if she does," said Harry through gritted teeth. Thirdly, his mean little eyes now slit in the great purple face. "We've told Marge you attend Foods, the cure center for incurably animal boys." "What?" Harry yelled. "And you'll be sticking to that story, boy, or there'll be trouble," spat Uncle. Harry sat there, white-faced and furious, staring at Uncle Vernon, hardly able to believe it. Aunt Marge coming for a week-long visit. It was the worst birthday present Dursley's ever given him, including that pair of Uncle socks. "Well, Patroon," said Uncle, getting heated, I'll be off to the station. Then want to come along to the ride, Dudders?" "No," said Dudley. Turned back to the television now that Uncle Vernon had finished threatening Harry. "Daddy's got to make him stand and smoothing Dudley's thing. Mummy's bought him a lovely new bow tie." Uncle Vernon clapped Dudley on the shoulder. "See you in a little bit," said, and left the kitchen. Harry, who had been sitting in a kind of horrified trance, had a sudden idea. Abandoning his toast and quickly got to his feet, followed Uncle Vernon. Uncle Vernon was pulling on his car coat. "I'm not taking you," Harry, watching him. "Like I wanted to come," said Harry coldly. "I wanted to ask you." Uncle Vernon's eyed him suspiciously. "Third years at my school are allowed to visit the village sometimes," said Harry. "So?" said Uncle Vernon, taking his car keys from a hook next to the door. "I need you to sign this permission," said Harry in a rush. "Why should I do that?" said Uncle Vernon. "Well," said Harry, "it'll be hard work saying to Aunt Marge that I go to what's it? St. Brood Secure Center for Incurably Animal Boys," bellowed Uncle Vernon, and he was pleased to hear definite panic over in his voice. "Exactly," said Harry. Over and got to remember. Have to make it sound convincing, won't I? But if I accidentally let something, you'll get the stuffing knocked out of you, won't you, Roy? On Harry with his fist raised. But Harry stood his ground, knocking the stuffing out. "Forget what I could tell her," said grimly. Uncle Vernon stopped his fist, still raised, but his face was ugly proof. But if I sign my permission form, Harry went quickly. I swear I'll remember when I'm supposed to go to school, and I'll act like I'm. Harry could tell that Uncle Vernon was, even if his teeth were bared and sobbing in tremble. Right. That's fine. I shall monitor your behavior carefully during Marge's visit. If at the end of it you've toed the line, kept to the story, I'll sign your rubby form. He wheeled around, pulled up the front door, and slammed it so hard that one of the little panes of glass at the top fell out. Harry didn't return to the kitchen. He went back upstairs to his bedroom. He was now going to act like a real muggle. Better start now. Slowly and sadly, he gathered up all his presents, birthday cards, hid them under the loose floorboard with homework. Then he went to Hedwig's cage. Earl seemed to have recovered. He and Hedwig were both asleep, heads under their wings. Harry sighed, then poked both awake. Hedwig, he said gloomily, you're going to have to clear off work. Go with Earl. Ron will look after you. All right. Explaining. Don't you look at me like that. Hedwig's large amber eyes were reproachful. Not my fault, but I'll be allowed to visit Hogsmeade with Ron. Minutes later, Earl and Hedwig, who had a note to Ron bound, soared out of the window. Harry, now feeling probably miserable, put the empty cage away in the wardrobe, but Harry didn't. Next to no time, Aunt Petunia was shrieking up the stairs for Harry to come down and get ready to welcome their guests. Do something about your hair, Aunt Petunia. The hall, Harry could see the point of criticizing him. Of trying to make his hair lie flat. Aunt Marge loved criticizing him, so the untidier looked happier to be. All too soon there was a crunch of gravel outside, and Uncle Vernon's car pulled back into the driveway. Then the clunk of the car door, footsteps on the grass. Get the door, Aunt Petunia hissed at Harry, a feeling of great gloom in his stomach. Harry pulled the door open. On the threshold stood Aunt Marge. She was very like Uncle Vernon, large, beefy-faced, even had a mustache, and not as bushy as one hand held an enormous suitcase. Tucked under the other was an old, evil-tempered bulldog. Where's my dutter? Roared Aunt Marge. Where's my Neefy Poo? Dudley came waddling down the hall, his blonde hair plastered flat to his fat head, a bow tie just visible under very many. Aunt Marge thrust the suitcase into Harry's stomach, and knocking the window, Dudley in a tight one-armed hug, and planted a large kiss on his cheek. Harry knew perfectly well that Dudley only put up with Marge hugs because he was well paid for it. Sure enough, they broke apart. Dudley kissed £20 note punched in that fist. Bruna! Shouted Aunt Marge, flitting past Harry as though it was a hat stand. Aunt Marge and Aunt Petunia kissed, or rather Aunt Marge bumped her large jaw against Aunt Petunia's cheek. Uncle Vernon now came smiling joyfully as he shut the door. Marge, then, and what will Ripper? Ripper can have some tea out of my Marge, as said Aunt Marge, as they all tripped into the kitchen. Oh, said Aunt Marge, as they all tripped into the kitchen. All with it wasn't complete. She's with Aunt Marge him. So Dan gave Case upstairs to the spare bedroom. He could, by the time he got back into the bed with Fruitcake, and Ripper was lapping the corn. Harry saw Aunt Petunia wince slightly as specks of tea and drool swept her clean floor. Aunt Petunia waited and was looking after the other dogs, Mom, said Uncle Vernon. Uncle Vernon asked, "Oh, I've got Colonel Fubbus," ribbed Aunt Marge. "He's retired now. Good for him. Good for him. Seemed to do what I couldn't do. Poor old Ripper." He began again as Harry sat down the. "So, you're still here, are you?" "Yes," said Harry. "Don't you say yes in that beautiful tone," Marge growled. It's good of Vernon and Petunia to you. Wouldn't have done it myself. You'd have gone straight into an orphanage if you'd been dumped on my doorstep." Harry was bursting to say that he'd rather live in an orphanage than with the Dursleys, but he thought of Hogsmeade form stopped him, forced his face into a faint smile. "Don't you smirk at me," boomed Aunt Marge. "I haven't improved since last saw you. Hope school would knock some manners." Took a large gulp of tea, wiped her mustache, and said, "Where is that you said again, Vernon?" "St. Bruce," said Uncle Vernon promptly. "First-rate institution for hopeless cases." "I see," said Aunt Marge. "They use a cane at St. Bruce, boy?" Barked across the table. Uncle Vernon nodded curtly behind. "Yes," Harry said. Harry. Then feeling might as well do the thing properly all the time. "Excellent," said Aunt. "I won't have this nibby-patty wishy-washy about not hitting people who deserve good thrashing is what you need. What's needed in that of a. Have you been beaten often?" "Oh, yeah, loads of times." Aunt Marge never asked. "Still don't like your tone, boy. If your beatings in that casual way, Hurley's ain't hitting you enough, but I'd write if I were you. Make it clear that you approve of the use of extra force in boys' case." Perhaps Uncle Vernon worried that Harry would their bargain. In any case, he changed the subject abruptly. "Heard the news this morning, Marge? What about that escaped prisoner, eh?" As Aunt Marge started to make herself at home, Harry caught himself thinking about Longley of life at number 4 without her. Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia encouraged Harry to stay out of their way, which Harry was happy to do. Harry Marge on Aunt Marge, on the other hand, wanted Harry under her eyes at all times so that he could broom out suggestions for his improvement. She delighted in comparing Harry with Dudley and took huge pleasure in buying Dudley expensive presents while glaring at Harry, though daring him to ask why he hadn't got a present too. He also kept throwing out dark hints about what made Harry such an unsatisfactory mustn't blame yourself for the way the boy turned out, Vernon said over lunch the third day. If there's something rotten on the inside, there's nothing to do about it. Harry tried to concentrate on his food, but his hand shook. His face started to burn with anger. Remember the form, he told himself. Think about Hogsmeade. Don't say anything. Don't rise. Aunt for her. It's one of the basic rules of breeding. See it all the time with dogs. If there's something wrong with the B word, there'll be something wrong with the pup. At that moment, the wine glass Aunt Marge was holding exploded in her hand. Shards of glass flew in every direction and blinked. Her great ruddy face dripping. Marge, squealed Aunt Petunia. Marge, are you alright? Not to worry, grunted Aunt Marge, mopping her face with her napkin. Mum must have squeezed it too hard. Did the same thing at Colonel Fubster's the other day. No need to fuss, Petunia. I have a very firm grip, but Uncle Vernon were both looking at Harry suspiciously, so he decided he'd better skip dessert from the table as soon as he could. Outside in the hall, he leaned against the wall, breathing deeply. It had been a long time since he'd lost control and made something explode. He couldn't afford to let that happen. Hogsmeade for him wasn't the only thing that carried on like that. If he carried on like that, he'd be in trouble with the Ministry of Magic. Harry was still an underage wizard and was forbidden by wizard law to do magic outside school. His record wasn't exactly clean. Only last summer he got an official warning that he had stated quite clearly that if the Ministry got wind of any more magic and Pivot Drive, Harry would face expulsion from Hogwarts. He heard the Dursleys leaving the table and hurried upstairs out of the way. Harry got through the next stage by forcing himself to think about the handbook of do-it-yourself room whenever Aunt Marge started on. This worked quite well, though it seemed to give him a glazed look because Aunt Marge started voicing the opinion he had that he was mentally subnormal. That at long last, the final evening of Marge's stay arrived. Aunt Petunia cooked a fancy dinner and Uncle Vernon uncorked several bottles of wine. They got all the way through the soup and the salmon without a single mention of Harry's faults. During the lemon meringue pie, Uncle Vernon bored them all with a long talk about Grunnings, his drill making company. Then Aunt Petunia made coffee and Uncle Vernon got a bottle of brandy. Can I tempt you, Marge? Marge had already had quite a lot of wine. Her huge face was very red. Just a small one, then she said, a bit more than that. A bit more. That's the ticket. Dudley was eating his fourth slice of pie. Aunt Petunia was sipping coffee with her little finger sticking out. Harry really wanted to disappear into his bedroom, but he met Uncle Vernon's angry little eyes and knew that he would have to sit it out. Ah, said Aunt Marge, smacking her lips and putting the empty brandy glass back down. Excellent nosh. Tuna. It's normally just a fry up of meat of an evening with 12 dogs and to look after. She burped richly and patted her great stomach. Pardon me, but I do like to see a healthy-sized boy making it deadly. You'll be a proper-sized man, Dudley. Like your father. Yes, I'll have got more brandy for him. Now this one here. Jerked her head at Harry, who felt his stomach clench and book. This one's got a mean look about him. You get that with dogs. I had Colonel Clubbuster drown one year. Ratty little thing, it was their bread. Harry was trying to remember page 12 of his book, A Charm to Cure Reluctant Reversers. Just this page, and this page, and then we're done. Okay? It all comes down to blood. As I was saying the other day, bad blood will out. Now I'm saying nothing against your family, Petunia. Had a Petunia bony hand with her shovel like one, but your sister was a bad egg. They turn up in the best families. Then she ran off with the Ulster, and here's the result right here in front of us. Harry was staring at his plate, funny rigging in his ears, grasped the broom firmly by the tail, but he couldn't remember what came next. Marge's voice seemed to be boring like one over in his jokes. This, Potter, said Aunt Marge loudly, seizing the brandy bottle, splashing more into her glass over the tablecloth. He never told me what he did. Uncle Vernon and were looking extremely tense. Dudley had been looked up from his pie to gape at it. He didn't work, said Uncle Vernon with half a at Harry. Unemployed. As I expected, said Aunt Marge, taking a huge swig of brandy and wiping her chin on her. A no-account, good-for-nothing, loud, lazy Scrooger who he was not, said Harry suddenly. The table went quiet. Harry was shaking all over. He had never felt so angry in his life. More brandy, yelled Uncle, who had got very white. He emptied the bottle into Marge's glass. You boy, Harry, go to bed. Go on. No, Vernon, stopped Aunt Marge, holding up a hand. Her tiny bloodshot eyes fixed on Harry. Harry, go, boy. Go on, boy. Go on. How do your parents are you? They go and get themselves killed in a car crash, drunk, I expect. They didn't die in a car crash. He found himself on his feet. They died in a car crash, you nasty little liar, and left you to be a burden on their decent, hard-working relatives, screamed Aunt Marge, swelling with fury. You're an insolent, ungrateful little... But Aunt Marge suddenly stopped speaking for a moment. It looked as though words had failed her. She seemed to be swelling with inseparable anger, but the swelling didn't stop. Her great red face started to expand. Her tiny eyes bulged stretched tightly for speech. Next second, several buttons had just burst from her tweed jacket and pinned off the wall. She was inflating like a monstrous balloon, her stomach bursting free of her tweed wristband, of her fingers blowing up like a salami. Marge! Yelled Uncle Vernon, and Petunia. Marge! Yelled Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia together as Aunt Marge's whole body began to rise towards the ceiling. She was entirely round now, a vast life boy with piggy eyes. She was extremely round now, with a vast life boy with piggy eyes, and her hands and feet stuck out weirdly as she drifted up into the air, making a plop-lick popping noises. Ripper came getting to the room, barking madly. No! Uncle Vernon seized Marge's legs, tried to pull her down again, but he was almost lifted from the floor himself. A second later, Ripper leapt forward and sank his teeth into Uncle Vernon's leg. Harry tore from the dining room before anyone could stop him, heading for the cupboard. The cupboard door burst magically open as he was in it. Seconds his trunk to the front door, he sprinted outside, threw himself under the bed, wrenching the loose floorboard, and grabbed the pillowcase full of books and birthday presents, wiggled out, seized Hagrid's Hedwig's empty cage, and dashed back downstairs to his trunk. Just as Uncle Vernon burst out of the dining room, his trouser leg in bloody tatters. Come back in here, he bellowed. Come back and put her right. A reckless rage came over Harry. He kicked his trunk open, pulled out his wand, and pointed at Uncle Vernon. She deserved it, said Harry, breathing very fast. She deserved what she got. You took away from me. Fumbled behind him, going for the latch on the door. I'm going, said he. I've had enough. The next moment, he was out in the dark, quiet street, leaving his heavy trunk behind him, Hedwig's cage in his arm. And hopefully I can see you guys next time for the next chapter of The Night Bus. I will see you next time to read the 3rd chapter of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Bye! Peace out.